It was in the 60s in Michigan yesterday, and now it's in the teens. Alright, so this is my January rewind. It's a look back at what I read in January with a quick thumbs up, thumbs down rating. And this is the second time I've recorded it because the camera wasn't on the first time. Yay! Failface Misty. So, I read a lot in January. A lot. I'm going to try to power through, especially because I'm saying all of this for the second time. But, I might have to split this into 2 videos, so what are you gonna do? Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger. This definitely gets a thumbs up. I was a little bit worried because this is Carriger's first YA. I was worried how she was going to adapt her writing to a younger audience, because I am of the firm opinion that you don't need to adapt your writing to an age group all that much. The content, sure, but not necessarily the writing. And so when an author switches from adult to children's, I'm always worried that they're going to talk down to the audience, which was a huge pet peeve of mine as a kid and remains a huge pet peeve of mine to this day. I was especially worried in the beginning because it did seem like she was going to talk down or be a little heavy-handed about things and a little overly obvious, but either that sort of evened out or I got used to it, because after a while I didn't notice that anymore. So it ended up winning me over. I definitely do like the Parasol Protectorate series better. I think it captured me right off the bat, and I love Alexia. But this is still definitely really good. It's a really fun Victorian steampunk. I love the world. I like where the series is sort of going and the potential that it has, so I'm definitely looking forward to future installments of the Finishing School series. My full review will be up on the blog on February 5th, as well as a really fun interview with Gail and maybe a little something extra for you guys, so definitely make sure to stop by and check that out. Ostensibly Ordinary by Alyssa Goodnight. Big thumbs up. The full review for this is already up, so you can check that out if you'd like, as well as a really fun interview that I did with Alyssa. But basically, I'm always a little bit leery when it comes to picking up romance. I've talked about my blackened, cold, dead heart before, but I make an exception when it comes to Jane Austen adaptations and fan fiction. And in this case, I'm really glad that I make that exception. This was super fun. I love Kate, the main character. I think Alyssa nailed the voice and the tone. It's this really fun mix of like a modern contemporary romance with, you know, pop culture and all that, with Jane Austen and sort of Emma plot lines running through, as well as sort of Hitchcock-era femme fatales, which is really fun. It's got a sort of magical realist style, but without the weightiness that often comes with magical realism. Even when I was a little hesitant about things or was questioning things, anything that would have maybe pushed my willing suspension of disbelief a little bit, I really honestly couldn't have cared less, because it was just cover to cover non-stop fun. Whether you're a Jane Austen fan, a romance fan, whatever, if you are looking for a good time, call Alyssa Goodnight. Mist and Frost by Catherine James. These do get a thumbs up, but it's kind of, you know, hovering around the middle a little bit. Basically, I saw potential in them for more than what they were, but they hit on some of my pet peeves. Referring back to Etiquette and Espionage, I think that these did suffer a little bit from the author talking down, writing down to her audience a little bit. There is an obviousness in some things. Things will be really heavy-handedly or clumsily pointed out through character dialogue or through someone's thoughts. You know, a spotlight will be shown on something that I don't necessarily think needs to be spotlighted. Like, your audience is bright enough. Give kids credit. They can figure things out on their own. Kids are smart, you know? You can't forget that when you're writing for them. It's a weakness for 2 reasons. Number one, it shows their opinion of their audience, that they think their audience isn't going to be able to get it without them nudging them along. But it also shows a weakness in the writing, that you don't have confidence in your own storytelling, that it's going to be obvious on its own. So that kind of irritated me. There's also some redundancy, especially in the word choice, which irritated me because it's another pet peeve. But I think most of where it fell a little flat for me was in the ease of everything. Things happen really quickly and really easily, and I would have loved a lot more tension and struggle and questioning on the main character's part, especially in Frost, which I actually think is the better of the two. I liked it more. It does rely quite heavily in the end on Deus Ex Machina, which is a bit of a deal breaker for me. But that being said, they're very quick and they are good. I did like them, but I could have liked them more, and I wish that that would have been the case. Godmother by Carolyn Turgeon. This one gets a thumbs up as well. You guys picked this for me in Stack of 5, so I'm going to be doing a video review of it in March, so I don't want to go too into detail with it. This is a very deceptive book, I'm gonna say, and I don't just mean in the little twists that happen throughout. There are surprises, and I think they're very interesting, very intriguing surprises, which makes me think that this would actually make a really good book club book. You know, this would be great for discussion. The style was really great. It's sort of magical realist as well, and much darker than I thought it was going to be, which was one of the surprises, and also something that tends to make me happy in fairy tales. Yeah, about that cold dead heart. Yeah, definitely looking forward to more from Carolyn Turgeon. So those are all books that were in my January TBR that I said I would definitely be reading, and I did. There were a few that were maybes that I haven't gotten to yet, but the rest of the month I was kind of picking things up just a little mood-based. I participated in the Bout of Books readathon, which I always intend to participate in, and I always miss. I always forget when it's coming. So this time I caught it right at the beginning and just dove in and used it as an excuse to read some things that I had been wanting to read or reread, as the case may be. So I'm going to start with those rereads. First up is Daughter of the Forest. It doesn't have a cover, but this I have talked about many times. It is easily in my favorite books of all time, like within top 5 without a question. I love it. I was just craving it. Every time I start thinking about it a lot or comparing other books to it, I know that I'm due for a reread of it, and it wins every time. It gives me butterflies every time, which is really rare for a book when you know what's coming to still affect you like that, you know, in your gut, to actually feel it. So that's really impressive to me, and I love it. I love the story, I love the characters, I love the depth of the world. It's just really a stunner. The other reread was An Old-Fashioned Girl by Louisa May Alcott, which I've been talking a lot about lately, which is why I felt the need to bring it out again. I went through a phase in my sort of mid to late teens where I had 4 books that were in near constant rotation: An Old-Fashioned Girl, Anne of Green Gables, Pride and Prejudice, and Persuasion. Pretty much every 3rd or 4th book I would read would be one of those. So I've read them. I don't even think I need to read them anymore. I could probably sit down and like write out the entire story. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Maybe a little sad. There are things that I think as I get older bother me more. There is a tendency in Alcott's writing in general to heavily plant morals, to be really didactic and break the fourth wall and talk directly to her reader about, you know, being a better person, which was a style tactic at the time, so I get that, and I'm able to kind of forgive it because of that, but it gets a little saccharine and that starts to irritate me. But the story and the characters more than make up for that. I love it. That's all there really is to say. So I'm going to be doing a re-video